We're on. We're back.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome, everybody. Episode number 92.
Yep.
Nice to see you.
We're
She's a
deep
poet.
in the holiday season now. It's,
Yes.
Crazy. But I have a word.
Okay.
It was the Oxford word of the year.
Oh.
Have you heard of it?
Yes.
No.
Did you write it down?
Brain rot.
Brain rot. Yep.
Caused by devices like this, I
Yep.
have a feeling.
Yep. Defined as a deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state due to the overconsumption of 20-second TikTok or Instagram videos. But the first use of the word was by Henry David Thoreau in his 1854 book, Walden.
Oh.
He used that word,
That's right.
1854.
I wrote it down.
Wow. Very interesting.
Yeah.
There was another word of the year, the Oxford word. That was the Oxford one.
Mhm.
And the other one was...
Have you ever been to Walden? I have.
No.
I just bought the
beautiful.
book
It's
because of that word. Made me buy the book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too
The
funny.
place, you should go and see
Yeah.
it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, the book is a combo. It's Walden and Civil Disobedience.
Right, yes, I have that book, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I wrote it down.
I have a word then while you're looking. I'll jump in.
Go ahead.
Sylvan. S-Y-L-V-A-N.
Oh, that has to do with forest.
Yes.
Yeah,
I didn't know that word actually.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Sylvanian family.
That's true.
Remember that toy?
My girls love that toys.
Oh
Yeah.
God, Jessica loves it
Yeah.
too.
Well, that kind of fell that we knew the word. You're like,
Oh, yeah, I'm
okay,
like, okay, well, I didn't know the word, so there
That's
you are.
okay, that's fine.
Well, I'm very mad that I don't have all my notes.
That's
You
okay.
know, are we going to grade her on
I
her?
know.
You know, we should start grading her.
But I do have... It's too bad I don't write it down.
I think you might need something to drink.
Oh, you want me to do
Oh, okay.
the
Well, anyway, this is a word that we all know. The word dungaree.
Yes.
Right.
You know, before jeans, everybody called them dungarees. When I was growing up, you wore dungarees. You didn't
Right.
wear jeans.
Right.
And dungaree, the word dungaree actually means blue denim. And it was first recorded in 1605 to 1615.
Wow.
And it's from the Hindi word dungaree, meaning coarse cloth.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So in the 1600s, we had material
Coarse cloth.
but called denim. 'Cause you
It
said
was called dungaree.
Dungaree.
but-
Dungaree.
But it meant blue denim,
No, it meant coarse cloth.
coarse cloth. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay,
She wasn't listening.
I guess not.
Dungaree.
You see Sherlock's face.
He's like, I'm not buying that.
You better not.
Don't disconnect us.
Yeah, really. That's why I'm watching him very closely. He's going to knock into the. Okay.
No, he's good to go.
Well, should I grab the bottle?
Yeah, let's
Might as
pour
well.
while we're
Okay.
doing it.
Because I feel like we're in such scary times, this wine was important to me. It's called Hitch, Master of Suspense.
Oh.
Yes.
For Hitchcock.
We are entering that time period
Yep.
right now.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So, it is a medium to full-bodied red wine with expressive aromas and flavors of a ripe red fruit and dark chocolate. And that's, okay, but you don't, do you want to?
No, you take it.
All right, you
I don't
can
want to
smell
waste
it.
it. Yeah, I'll
You can
smell
smell
yours.
I got spots on my glass, but whatever.
Did you have this one before?
No, I never had this, so who knows?
I'll smell it real
It's a Merlot, so we'll see.
It's so red. Look at that.
Let's see.
Oh, it smells delicious.
Okay. So, let's see.
Where did
So,
you buy it?
It was part of my wine club.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm gonna like this. I love the one that we had before this. So
The
it's
Côte
gonna-
d'Aron.
It smells like it's going to be acidic. I bet it's
It did. It smelled very acidic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna open up a Guinness Zero. This is non-alcoholic.
Mm.
You like it, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I do. Maybe it'll grow on me. But It is, can you guess the alcohol content?
I'm going to say it's like 14.
It smelled very acidic, so I'm going to say at least 13 and a half.
It's smooth when you swallow it. It's weird.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. It's
The
dry.
acidic ones
wouldn't
are
have thought
higher
that.
in
Okay.
alcohol content usually.
Alright.
It is 13.4%.
Okay.
You know, we didn't give Wildflowers to the Côte d'Ivoire.
Oh, for our last time. Yeah, we
Oh,
had-
that was a fiver.
Yeah,
oh,
definitely.
Good.
a
And the
five.
price was good. Good.
Yeah,
I'm glad you
definitely,
liked that one.
definitely.
Excellent.
I do like this.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's light. It's a Merlot.
Yeah. Merlot, yeah. All right. Cellared in Santa Rosa, California. Known as the master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock remains one of the most influential figures in cinematic history. From humble origins as a technical clerk and copywriter, he went on to direct over 50 feature films in a career spanning 6 decades. I mean, he was a creeper. Raise a glass to his legacy with this deep, silky Merlot brimming with ripe red fruit flavors and a touch of dark chocolate on the nose. It's a fittingly thrilling and complex tribute to Hitch. So it's called Hitch.
I like
So-
his movies.
Yes, well, yeah, you would, but they are very.
They can be very
They're dark.
dark.
Yeah, very dark, but very, very interesting. What would you say one of your most favorite movies of his would be? Is that tricky?
I think North by Northwest.
I was gonna say that
I like
one
that.
too.
I like that, and I like Rear Window.
Rear Window is. Are you familiar with these at all?
No, I'm
Rear
not
Window
a
is so.
connoisseur of it.
You know what? It's that kind of. I love movies like where it's mental. It's not like the stabbing. Like, I didn't like
Exactly,
Psycho.
yeah.
I didn't care
Yeah.
for Psycho. The Birds.
The Birds was.
The Birds was good.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
It was good. It was just like ooh.
I remember the first time I saw it. It was the first time they put it on TV, and me and my sisters and my sister-in-law Teresa,
Right.
and my brother Kevin and Eileen, we all watched it in the living room, and we were so scared by it. Now when I watch it, I don't think
it
it's
doesn't
scary,
Right,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
back,
but
I
it
can
was
see 'em.
so scary that Terry had to go home, and she lived on Eldred Street, and we all walked her home, and we were so scared.
Wow.
That's,
Yeah.
Wow.
It does tell you so much.
Yeah.
Now, like you said, you watch it now and it's like, really?
I know, because now the things that they show us
Yeah.
are just more horrifying
Right,
than the
yeah.
birds attacking, seagulls attacking somebody.
But
you know.
Lisa is still to this day petrified of birds.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know
She,
that.
oh, petrified.
Oh, Lisa.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
cannot. If there's a bird around, she can't stand it.
Is it because of that movie?
Yeah, yeah, she watched the
okay.
movie.
Wow.
It affected her.
Interesting.
So yeah, so that's the wine.
So that-
Oh,
how
it's
many
good.
wildflowers?
I would give it like a 3.75.
All right, I'll
Three
agree.
and a half.
I'll agree with you. Same.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
good. I mean, it's very drinkable. You know. Well,
No, every time you say that though, I do laugh because it's like,
Well,
that's the bar we're gonna set.
well,
It's drinkable.
Most of it,
It's-
I mean, we always will drink it.
you know,
Right.
compared to the last one was more full-bodied.
Yes.
And it was
Yeah.
smoother and had more flavor.
Right.
This, you know, is
It is a Merlot.
for a Merlot.
Yeah.
Merlot, I didn't think was light.
Right, I know.
This
it's kind of weird.
To me,
right?
it's like light, like a Pinot Noir.
oh,
Right, that's what when you
interesting.
said it was smooth. I didn't expect it because it was
Yeah.
dark in color,
Yeah.
acidic in smell, and it's
Yeah.
Merlot. So I
Yeah.
would have thought that.
Price point. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, okay. Hitch,
didn't
these
look.
things, I'm going to say, I mean, I wouldn't go. If I were buying it and I knew what it was, I wouldn't go over $12.99.
Because you got in a club, I want
Yeah.
to say 17.
Okay, it ranges from $19 to $22,
Yeah.
depending where you buy it.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
But yeah, I
TCM
agree.
has these wines
Yes,
too.
yeah, they do.
The
Yeah.
TCM
I
Wine
am-
Club.
I am tempted to join this, but I'm so into this one that I do now with National Geographic that I'm just like, I don't
Yeah.
need another wine club.
Yeah.
Maybe I do.
I was going to say, we always could use one, can't you?
Yeah. Okay, so who does the book?
Okay, I am doing the book, and I just recently read 1984.
I'm so glad you're doing this.
And I thought
Recently
that,
or reread?
well, that's the thing. I think I read it when I was in high school,
Mm.
Yeah.
but when I was reading it, I didn't remember. I mean, I was in high school a million years ago. I didn't remember a lot of the book. His name, the main character's name, was familiar to me. I knew that. So I'm not so sure. I thought that I read it in high school and didn't like it, but I just either read or reread this. I don't know which it was. And I loved it. I loved this book.
Did you watch the movie?
No, I didn't, and I wanted to do that this morning, but 1 o'clock is an early time for me on a Sunday, so,
Well,
yeah.
we had to read it in high school and we watched the movie.
Yeah.
So we did both.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch the movie because I really did love this book and I highly recommend it to everybody.
I want to read it.
It's, there are so many comparisons to what's going on today in this book. Of course, this is much more extreme. This was written...
So far.
Yeah. This was written in 1945, and it takes place in the future. So who knows what's going to happen by 1984.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's this dystopian, society.
Tell them who the
where
author is.
The author is George Orwell.
Whose real name was?
I don't know what his real name was.
Eric Blair.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I
good for
didn't
you.
know that.
Eric Blair.
Wow. He also wrote Animal Farm. He wrote a couple of other books. I read Animal Farm, and I want to reread that too, because I think when I did read that one in high school, I'm certain, and they don't list his books in here. That's weird. And I didn't like that. I know that I didn't like it, but I think I didn't understand it because it was really a commentary on society and the pigs and all the different animals represented other things. And I went to a Catholic school, and
Well, I
nuns
also
aren't the
think,
smartest teachers.
and I know we've talked about this in the past, but sometimes when you do reread a book, you just come to it with a whole different...
I mentioned that last time.
Yeah,
Because I
Yeah.
reread Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, right.
Right,
Yes.
that's right.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
So anyway, the book takes place in 1984, which considering it was written in 1945, and that was after World War II,
Yes.
after the Nazi invasion of Europe. It's about totalitarianism. And everybody in society is totally controlled by Big Brother.
Right.
And nobody even knows if there's a real Big Brother, but Big Brother is always watching you. In every public place, in every home, there is like a television, exactly. And it watches and listens to everything you say
Yes.
and everything you do. And people have a tendency to just disappear. Because if you do or say anything that looks like you are not supportive of the government, then you disappear. They come and they get you and they take you away. And it's as if you never even existed. They wipe out
History. You say what?
your
Wow.
whole history.
Wow.
So the main character in the book is Winston Smith, and he works for the Ministry of Truth. And he works in the records department of the Ministry of Truth. And truth in this novel, 1984, is what the government wants you to believe.
Oh my God.
Exactly. There are so many references in this book that you could say, oh my God, Donald Trump and the MAGA party. Oh my God, Donald Trump and the MAGA party. It's pretty frightening. Not as extreme, but who knows what's going to happen in the next 4 years. So Winston's job is to...
But can I just say something? Not to cut any slack to Donald Trump, but even prior to Donald Trump, like Nixon and in the government, they still wanted to control so much. So that's all I'm saying.
He's the worst because he
Oh, yeah.
actually now, he's going after the press.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you.
And you go after the press, then there's no more truth.
Well, like what Putin did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
So, in Russia, they only have state, journalists,
Yes.
like the State Department runs the news agency. But you made me lose my train
I'm
of
sorry.
thought. But anyway, Winston's job is to change history, and that's what it's all about. So the government decides, okay, this person doesn't exist anymore, but there's references to this person and these documents and these news broadcasts. So Winston's job is to rewrite the history without that person in it. And he's a thinker, and he finds one of the things that he's doing is wiping out the existence of these 3 people that really tried to change things for the better, who like disappeared, and now there's no references of them, but he has a newspaper clipping, and he has to decide, am I going to save this? But if he gets found out, I mean, it's brutal what they do to you. There's a lot of torture involved in this book, horrible things that they do. And in the end, he decides he's going to put it in the little vacuum thing. All the proof. There's never any proof of what happened prior to the revolution. There's no proof of anything because everything gets destroyed.
Yeah.
So
Like in the silo.
yeah, exactly. So this is, on the back of the book, it just says, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. So who does that remind you of?
Please.
All these people who voted for Donald Trump, no matter what they heard and saw, they overlooked it or excused it or said he didn't mean it. You know, it's hopefully this is not the beginning of the end.
Right.
So, I had a lot of notes. I was going to read parts of it, but I'm not going to bother with that because it's going to take up a lot of time. But I'll just read what the synopsis of the book. It's Winston Smith toes the party line, rewriting history to satisfy the demands of the Ministry of Truth. With each lie he writes, Winston grows to hate the party that seeks power for its own sake and persecutes those who dare to commit thought crimes. Even, like, they could tell if you're thinking, you know, what you're thinking by your actions, by a facial
They
expression.
would be able to read me.
I know. Your facial expressions are very, very important in this. He's always trying to control his reaction in his
That
face.
to me is the scariest part.
And you know, there's they have these sessions every day. It's called 2 Minutes of Hate, where everybody is wherever they are, there's a teleprompter, and they're always at war with Eurasia or East Asia, West Asia. It changes from day to day because the people say that maybe they're not even really at war, but they give them symbols of hate. And people go ballistic with it, like really, like this chanting and singing and throwing things and like really like getting people to hate who their supposed enemy is.
Wow.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
It's happening. Not to this extreme, but it's happening right
Yes.
here in the good old US of A.
Yeah.
Let's see. Winston can't escape the fact that Big Brother is always watching. So, a startling and haunting novel, 1984, creates an imaginary world that is completely convincing from start to finish. No one can deny the novel's hold on the imaginations of whole generations or the power of its admonitions, a power that seems to grow, not lessen, with the passage of time. In the novel, Winston does, like there's no sex for pleasure. They have a whole new language, like they're cutting out words, and they call it newspeak. It's like a new language, like to be more efficient with what you say. He does have like an affair with this girl who they find a place where they could go where there's no teleprompters, and I was very dissatisfied with the ending. I won't tell you what it was, but it isn't how I wanted it to go. But
Okay.
I really, really recommend it. I give it like 5.5 stars.
Wow.
Such a good
Wildflowers.
book. So Wildflowers. Such a good book. So well written.
Question.
Scary.
Was it banned anywhere? Was this book?
You know what? I don't know. I didn't look that up, but I'm assuming
curious.
it
I would
may
think
have been.
would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
You know, that's something we didn't read in high school, and I've always wanted to read.
You should read it. You want to borrow it?
Yeah, could I? Thank you.
Yeah, you're gonna love it. And it's
Unless you
written in
want
such
it.
an easy
No,
way.
please. I have so much.
It's written in such an easy
I
way,
would
like
like to
you
read
breeze through it.
I remember the movie so clearly. We got to watch it because I'm eons old, and on this little square TV in the classroom, and I do remember that he was nervous about his TV because he knew his TV was
Yeah.
watching him.
Yes,
And it was like
They're
oh.
always being watched, no matter out in public, anywhere they go,
Yeah.
taking
Well,
walks.
they say nowadays our TVs listen to us. They,
Oh,
even
yeah,
every
look
well,
what
the
happens.
phones do. But even if you don't have your phone,
If I'm shopping for something,
Yeah.
all of a sudden on the TV,
Yeah.
they're advertising
Yeah.
it to me.
Yeah.
well, I just googled this. Google says 1984 is often considered the most banned book of all time.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's a dystopian novel that explores themes of censorship, surveillance, privacy, nationalism, and sexual repression. It's been banned and challenged multiple times. Most recently, Jackson County, Florida,
Oh, what a surprise.
Lake Travis, Texas, and Rigby High in Idaho.
Oh, no surprises there in the
Yeah.
places where it's
Right,
challenged. So.
Well, I'm watching on Netflix now. It's a series. It's called Churchill at War, and it's so. I only watched the first episode. I can only take so much, and where he's trying to reason with the people what Hitler is doing, and
Yeah.
no one was listening to him.
Yeah, even other people in power, like
Exactly.
Chamberlain was partnering with Hitler.
He was, and
Yeah,
it's just anyway. That's
nobody listens and nobody understands our history, and that's the issue.
That's
I'm reading a book right now. It's nonfiction. It's huge, so it's going to take me a long time to get through it. But it's called Demagogue, and it's a biography of Joseph McCarthy.
oh,
And
the two of us. Oh.
and interesting enough, the person who kind of molded and inspired Joseph McCarthy was a mentor to Trump.
Coin,
Early on,
right?
you know.
Coin.
So he's dead now. Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Wow. Wow.
there you go. So there,
Yeah.
if you don't
Yeah.
believe Joe, so that's what
Yeah.
it was his model and inspiration. So yeah, I think I'm a very big proponent of reading about our history, learning as much as we can before we're prevented from learning about all
Right.
of this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll let you know how that book turns out when I finish.
Yeah.
It's huge though. It's
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
long
didn't
way.
you say that you're hanging on to all your books now?
Now I am. Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah.
That, because I'm not
I get that.
nervous about
Yeah,
it.
I definitely
Yeah.
get that. Because even like you think, oh, well, I can access that on the internet.
As this book is saying, it could change. They can
Exactly.
whitewash,
Yep.
and that's what's gonna happen.
Right.
So who does the topic?
I have the topic, and it's based.
You are the topic.
I am the topic. I like that. Okay. I didn't write anything down, so I don't know if I brought my notebook today. But my topic is strangers.
Never talk to strangers.
Stranger
Remember that
danger.
book with the whale?
Yes, I do.
Strange
I got
danger.
inspired by this book, which I finished last night, but I read it. It's a nonfiction. It's called "Letter to a Stranger: Essays to the One Who Haunt Us," and the concept of it is this Colleen Kinder is a writer. She contacted a lot of her writer friends in the industry and who have seemed to be very well traveled and apparently, but asked them to think about a stranger in their life who has kind of inspired them in some sort of way. And what would you say to them? Or if she had themes, what would you say to them if you could write a letter? So these were the topics that they could write about. A stranger that inspired symmetry, mystery, chemistry, gratitude, wonder, remorse, and farewell. Like those were the themes. And
You have no idea. I have such a memory.
well, that's what I was going to add. And so these, they're very brief. The letters are just like the size of, they're usually to the waiter who left me a tip, right? Or just very short things. To the doctor I never thanked.
Oh, wow.
Or to the drunk, Mr. Flunchy, like just kind of really well written, because they are writers and this is their profession, but very thought provoking, and it really opened up a lot of conversation within my family.
Oh, I love that.
Right, and with me, I reflect, because I've also had the reflections of strangers in a lot of these categories. So I thought, hey, this might be a really good topic. End of the year, we're coming upon reflection time. Towards the new year. We always think about our family, what we're we're grateful for, those elements, but think about the way sometimes strangers have shaped our perceptions. And before I open it to you, I'll talk briefly about the very last one in this, which I read last night, just to kind of give you an idea. And it was titled, what's the last title? Right here. Oh, there's a lot of writers in here. To the Girl I Didn't Love on the Last Bus Home. And so briefly what this is, he was young 20-something traveling in South America, and he was in actually Costa Rica. He came from a long line of teachers. He was raised in North Carolina, raised on this like 100-acre farm, which seems like so ideal, right? But he felt kind of trapped because this is what was kind of expected of him. He could look across the hills, see a cemetery where his great-great-great-grandparents were born, and then his grandparents were born, and he goes, I'll live and die on this dirt. Here he wanted to get out, so he was escaping, his life, and just trying to, I guess, find himself or whatever. And this girl boards a bus who's like him, age-wise, she's very attractive, and they, through broken English, broken Spanish, they just kind of started talking. She too was trained to be a teacher, but she was going to go back to her could look forward to go back to her small town where she grew up in a very rural, poor part of the country, and she was going to teach these kids, and she was looking forward to it. And meanwhile he's running from his life, and she's running towards her life. She ends up falling asleep on the bus and falls against him, and their bodies kind of just became very comfortable with each other, and he started daydreaming about what life would be like with her. I could see myself in her small village making tortillas with her mother, having kids playing, and he started just becoming comfortable and oh my gosh, this is, maybe this is it. And then an hour goes by, she wakes up, her stop is here, she gets off the bus and goes. And that he never sees her again, but the transformation of the conversation affected him so much, and now we see him now as he's writing this letter. He's in that same property, North Carolina, writing from his house with his wife sitting next to him, watching his two boys play on the hill, and seeing that gravesite, and he's come to peace with it. But sometimes, so it's just very reflective, and I love the concepts.
That's a great concept.
And I thought we could probably talk about this, and I'd love to hear if you could write a letter to a stranger. Who would you write to, and if you want, share a little bit about why?
I have two.
Okay, go ahead.
That if you don't mind.
Not at all.
The first one was when Jason was about 4 years old, and we were taking Amtrak upstate to Plattsburgh, and then my parents were going to pick us up. So it was just Jason and me. And in front of us, there was this elderly gentleman sitting in the seat, very proper, in a suit, just very, and I was like, I hope he doesn't get annoyed if Jason's a little too loud or whatever. But Rob came running on the train to kiss me goodbye, and kiss Jason goodbye, and he goes running, and Jason goes, "Who was that?" And the man in front, he turns around, and he started laughing, and he thought that was so cute. Well, it was like an 8-hour train ride on the Amtrak, and the man became friendly with Jason, and he asked me if Jason could sit with him.
Oh,
the man had to be 75, 80 years old. They were Jason always had such good rapport with older people. My aunt was just amazed that he could just converse with her at such a young age. The man gave him some coins to keep. He goes, "I want you to keep these and remember me by."
Oh.
And we have to have those coins somewhere. I should even ask Jason if he remembers it. But that man, obviously he's no longer alive, just affected me. He was so sweet. He loved Jason. And And he said, when are you going back home? I want to try to be on the train. Now, I don't have a memory if he was or not. I'm not sure if he was or not, which is ridiculous that I don't remember that. Probably he wasn't, because I think I would remember that.
Right.
Another time on a train was when I used to work in the city and on the Long Island Railroad, and I was sitting next to this black man, also dressed very nice, very sweet. And all of a sudden, like, he's writing this very... And then it gets to Jamaica, and he hands me the card. He goes, I just want you to have this. And he gets up and he leaves, and on the card says, I think you are so beautiful. I see that you are married, because I had the wedding. I wish I could get to know you. It was like, I saved the card. I kept the card.
How lovely.
But I'm just like, he seemed so genuine and so sweet. And I'm like, won't be married for long. No, I'm kidding. No, then the marriage was still quite intact. But those were two stranger things that, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. How about
Thanks
you,
for
Miss
sharing.
Peggy?
I have two also, and the first one, as soon as you brought it up, popped into my head. And I think that I've told you guys this very short story once before. It was when I was a little girl, and we lived in Brooklyn, and we lived in one of those old brownstones with the big high stoops, and we lived on the first and the second floor. And on the first floor, the entrance to our house, you went to the side, and there was a big iron gate.
Right.
And then
Story.
you walk into this vestibule, and then you go through two other doors to get into our
That
house.
has been so beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So one night we're all sitting at dinner, and somebody rang the bell. So I said, I'll get it, because that's what we used to do. I'll get it. And I ran out to the big iron gate, and there was a man standing there. And he was an old man, and he was dressed in a suit and a tie and a long coat and a hat, very formal, because men did dress that way when I was a kid. That's how men walked around with hats on. And,
Right.
and in my memory now, I say he looked like a corpse. And I was probably like 9 years old. I said, hello.
Yeah.
And he said, can a poor old man have something to eat? So I didn't know what to do, so I just ran back into the kitchen, and I told my mom, my dad wasn't home, and I told my mom, I said, there's a poor old man who wants something to eat. And she said to my brother Joe, he was the oldest son, Joseph, go out and see, what's going on. So Joe did go out. I don't know what happened in their interaction, but Joe did not let him in, and there was a skeleton key in it, and he locked the gate.
Wait,
So
Joe locked the gate. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would write a letter to that old man, who later in life I thought was a ghost.
Yeah.
I thought he looked like a corpse, he dressed like a corpse. I didn't know him, and where I lived in Brooklyn, we knew everyone on the block. He did not live on our street. We knew everybody. It was a very
Different
community-oriented block on Brooklyn. You knew everybody. I would want to know who he was, and why did he randomly pick our house to come and ask that question? And did he really need something to eat? He was a well-dressed man. I just always
so curious.
I always wanted to know who he was. I never forgot that, and I couldn't have been older than 9 years old when that happened.
I've heard this story a couple of times, and you have such a clear memory because it never changes.
I can see him in my head.
It never changes, and it made you think that he was a corpse or whatever.
Right, or a ghost. Or
yeah.
if he wasn't, and he probably wasn't, why did he come to our house?
Yeah.
Who was he? What made him randomly pick our house and ask for that? And my second letter would be when I was much older. I was probably 17. I had just started working in the city for the Equitable Insurance Company. And a lot of times on the way home, I would take the local K train, because I lived in Woodhaven at the time. And I would start out reading my book, and I'd end up falling asleep on the train. And I always picked a seat. It was like the old-fashioned trains, and I was sitting at the window, and the train got to the Broadway Junction stop where most people got off the local and switched to the J train or all these other trains. It was a big hub.
Right.
And I woke up because I felt a hand between my legs. And I opened my eyes and I looked, and there was this man sitting next to me, and he was just like, had his hand between my legs rubbing my thigh. And I went my instinct was to slap him, and then I noticed nobody else is in the car with me. It's me and him. So I just got up and I jumped over him because he was big, and I had to like step over his legs, and I ran out of the train and I went in another car. And yeah, I would write a letter to him too and say, I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was like 17 years old.
Yeah.
What would ever possess you to do that to another human being, to abuse them in that way?
Yep.
Those are great ones.
Yeah.
And there was something like that in here too, you know, where there was one where a woman was being, a 17-year-old was back in the 70s, this is talking about where she was sitting there having lunch with a teacher of all things, and looked over and there was a man in jeans sitting at a cafe next to her table, and he had a hole in a convenient place, and he wanted her to see that he was exposing himself to her. And then she, you know, after she left, she went around to a few different places throughout her town, small town, and he was following her.
Ew.
And she reported to the police, but they said nothing. He followed her into the library, into the supermarket, everywhere, and she confronted him, and the supermarket ran out afterwards, started yelling at, "Stop following me!" Blah, blah. And he turned to her and goes, "What? I'm married." Like, and made it look like she was the hysterical person. So she goes, "I would write a letter to." That's what her letter was to him about, because it happens to him in so many, and young girls still, you know, on that.
So how about you?
So many. One was involving nurses. There was some with the nurses where I remember as a young lawyer, I think I've mentioned I had no insurance for a very long time. I couldn't afford insurance, and that's why I'm so nervous with our insurance situation nowadays. And even though I worked full time, you know, I couldn't afford insurance, and this was before the health care that we have universally now. And so I used to get my female care done by Planned Parenthood, of course, you know, because it was free. They do everything, other things than abortions, everybody. You know, they're very important.
Yeah, they give birth control.
They give annual screenings.
Exactly,
you know.
pap smears.
Right. So very important. And so, but unfortunately I had a very bad incident that happened where I needed, I had a rupture of a cyst that, you know, that was very painful, ended me up in the emergency room 3 days after I started a job that provided health insurance.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
I was so lucky. It was 3 days away from financial ruin, and the insurance to my luck kicked in the day that I was hired.
Oh God.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
But it turned out when they discovered in there was I also had issues because I have a kidney situation too, that there was something going on with my kidney, which I know I have an issue with. And so they said you need to follow up with your your kidney doctor, with your gynecologist. You need to follow up with this doctor. And I'm like, I don't have any doctor. You know, I'm paying because I had no doctor for years.
Right.
And I remember just calling randomly a local place in the hospital nearby, and this kind nurse who I never got her name, and I just said, I just ended up in emergency. I said, they said I need this doctor. I said, I don't know what to do, and I was like throwing up still because I had just been released. She goes, what's your phone number? Just hold on, I'll call you back.
Wow.
And she did.
Yeah.
And she set me up with a urologist, a
love her.
gynecologist, a primary care physician. She's got me all in and taken care of like a mother would have.
Wow.
And I was so grateful to her that she did that, because that's above and beyond what she should have done.
That's so,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, and the other one was when after my girls were born, also a nurse.
Really?
Yeah, I was in the hospital and I had a very hard birth, lost a lot of blood. and I thought I was being discharged that day, and it turned out as they were discharging me, they realized I needed a blood transfusion ASAP. And now I'm nervous. You know, I have these 2 new babies. I'm in a state where I don't have any family, you know, and I was like worried with my kids, and I'm like, oh, my babies, what do I do? Because now I'm going to be away from them for, you know, and I was right. This one nurse goes, it's going to be okay. And she leaned over and kissed me on the top of my head.
Oh.
Which just seems so weird.
No, but it seems.
No, it's
but
genuine.
I felt all of a sudden very calm right after that. I remember feeling that way, and I was like, okay, I can do this.
Wow.
And I had my transfusion. I had to get a couple of pints in, and you know, it all worked out okay. So those are the other 2. If we have time, real quick, my regret one is walking in Boston, and I saw a father. It was a potential abusive situation with a little kid, and I couldn't get law enforcement intervention in time, and I don't know what happened to him.
Oh, wow.
The little boy, and it haunts me to this day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting topic.
Yeah.
You guys
You should take a picture of this and put it on there, because it is a very good book, and it's very thought-provoking. And ask your kids. I asked my kids about it today, and they gave me stories that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Right? And it
Oh, they did?
yes.
Oh, I love
you know,
that.
and so I tell them to pay attention, and I think it's a good conversation starter.
It absolutely is. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
And very well
Very,
read. Letters
yeah.
to stranger. To a stranger. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, if you have any strangers that you would like to tell us about,
Yeah.
that you wish you could write a letter to, let us know. I think it's sweet. It's great topic. Thank
Good.
you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you,
very
everybody.
good.
Well, have a happy holidays,
Yes.
everybody.
Happy
Happy New
holidays.
Year if we don't see you before then.
Right, exactly. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Thank
Yes.
you for watching.
Yay.
Write a letter to a stranger.
Yep, really.
Some really good
Have
ones
you
in there.
actually
Bye, everybody.
physically written the letter?